My name is Greg, and I started my YouTube channel 9 months ago. I wanted to put together a short video clip of my favorite 6 furniture flips in 2022. I'm not certain how well this is going to work. I have work to do. I'm just trimming off these edge pieces, and when I flip this drawer over, you'll see that there's a gap in there that I really... And then I thought, well, these lines in here, it's not a solid color or piece of wood, so I thought those lines in there might help it blend in just a little bit. Plus, this was the bottom drawer, so I thought the only person that might see it would be laying on the floor. And it would only be me or my wife, which neither of us lay on the floor regularly. And I'll show you how I do Danish oil. It ends up with a really, really nice finish. Though it does take some time. It'll probably take a total of 2 days. But this stuff here, you put on a liberal coat. Give that a couple of hours. And after a couple of hours, we come back with just a skim coat. And here I have a 2000 grit sandpaper, and it doesn't quite do the trick. Maybe like 1200 might work. Oh yeah, that feels better. I spent probably 25 to 35 minutes on each drawer. Not a lot of pressure, but just gently rubbing that Danish oil in with that sandpaper and applying just a little bit of Danish oil every now and then to keep it moist. But this process, it leaves a really, really nice finish, and then I take a cloth and wipe off any of the excess Danish oil that's on there, let it sit overnight, and I think since we're keeping it, I'll be done with no polyurethane over the top. If I was gonna sell this, I might put a polyurethane over it to be a little more protected, but if these get damaged, I can always redo them, because my wife is a little rough on things. And I didn't show any footage, but I did build those little candle holders you see right there with some of the leftover scrap. And thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. And I think it's a good time to get rid of this piece of furniture. We have doors right here. They're right behind there. These pieces with a lot of burn, I actually want the wood to start turning white from being burned. So, and wood will tend to warp when you burn it. So I'm going to leave these in, and hopefully they're glued in pretty well. And we used to burn all of our fence posts. That would go in the ground. The charring on that would keep it from rotting. And I took the paint off this because I figured the wood would burn a little different. And I wanted the base, or where the fire originated, to be a little bit different than the top. What you doing, huh? When are you gonna take a bath? You know you're supposed to take a bath every 2 weeks. I know, they're getting nervous to get out there with the goats. You probably noticed I had that air hose blowing on this as I had to sander it, and here's why. And it's especially more noticeable on the lighter color wood. But with that red in there, as you sand, it takes off little particles, and those little particles stay on this wood. So essentially, if all of this stays on here, we're just sanding in more of that red pigment or whatever that is. I don't know if it's a paint. And I don't want a real smooth finish, so I'm going to use a chip brush. So I don't want a distressed look, but I don't want it to look good. I kind of want it to look a little rugged. Maybe more like the furniture that I painted on my early furniture flips would be the look that I'm going for. They get bent. You know, it's 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, so 18 door slides. That's a lot. One thing you'll always see me do, I always put the lid back on my paint cans. If you don't do it, it just creates a big mess. I've seen people on other YouTube channels where they don't put the lid back on their paint and it just makes a mess. Wizard. Spooky and scary. Oh, 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 oh. Okay, you caught me. That ghost isn't real, and the doors didn't open by themselves. I have fishing line on there just to open the doors, so you know that it wasn't actually ghosts that were opening those doors. That's not a real spider. It's actually a fake stuffed animal. Is that my brother? Or? Oh, I thought that was Eric. Sorry. In this video, we're going to take this piece of furniture, turn it into this, and we decide that that looks horrible, and then we turn it into this. In a previous video, this flip went sideways. You might remember that I busted my camera. So throughout this furniture flip, I had to beg, borrow, possibly even steal some recording equipment from my wife and children. And I tell you all of that because there are times throughout this video where the video and audio quality is not as good as some of my previous videos. I'm gonna take over my job since you got my hat on. All right, I got work to do. Can't sit around all day like you. So that means every spot on here has to be covered in glue, otherwise it'll fall apart. These do take a lot of glue, and it tends to create quite a mess, but that's what has to be done. I always make sure there's plenty on those edges that could potentially get rubbed. You see that? Like that was hollow. I really like how this is turned out. I love the pattern, I love the diamond shape, though I'm not happy with the quality of the work. And it's a nice flat surface. So you just rub it along there until it's all squared up. Some of them look nice, and some of them you finish and you think, what in the world was I thinking? I wanted to get a little bit of higher sheen with the Oldies oil. up the buffer, and I'm just going to buff a little bit of this in. I made these just a little bit wider, a tight fit. We're just adding these dowel plugs. Alright, so I kind of figured out what we're going to do here. Clamping these smaller parts are always a bit of a challenge, but we'll get it. That looks pretty good. I'm not certain how much I like that look. With that gap right there, it still, I think, just kind of looks cheesy. I tried painting out there, it's just been too hot. I will cut the front and then put 45s on one end. I've got it cut long, so that side's flush. And then this one here, there's plenty of room to sand it down, recut it. I cut it about a 1/16 long. I always use a marking knife. Sometimes the width of a pencil will mess you up. If you've tried doing these before, you're probably like me, messed up so many of them you don't even care to count. So I always line up the inside corners, and the rest of that can be sanded down on the outside. So that once you get to this point, you kind of start dry fitting everything. And then I want to knock that back one off when I'm doing it. So I have to climb back there and get it. That's always fun. Just about the right amount of glue. Wipe off your furniture the quickest way to get a furniture flip done when you are in a hurry. Thanks for watching. I don't know if this will work. What's wrong with that? Could put better door slides in there and pull those out. I went and got these green veneers today. These are from Woodcraft. This working? We need a 60-degree angle on our saw blade. Make a trial cut here. What we're going to do now, and I think the camera is going to stick. So unfortunately, my camera hit there, cracked the screen, and no longer functioned properly. So time for a new camera. And definitely, if you do one of these, do not skimp on the glue. End-grained anything soaks up a lot of glue. So what we're going to do here is cut these in thin strips. I'm going to have to repair each one of these and just leave the cube. Bad news, I have to take and remove all the outside green veneers off of this. It's going to take a little time, but the good news is, well, there is no good news. This is going to be long and tedious. Well, this has turned out to be a lot more fun than I thought it would be. I got maybe about half of these done. Glad that's over. I'll put one of these in upside down. So we'll put that upside down piece somewhere through there. And our upside down piece. So that one goes like that. I like the Danish oil finish. It kind of pulls out some of these colors in here. we ran into a problem with the width of the doors. We're gonna extend this out to here. We gotta get moving on it. So 14.5 by 58, and I'm gonna take 1/4-inch plywood and just put on both sides of this, since this is just 2-ply cardboard, but that's too flimsy and cheap. I put that there to cover the gaps of that bottom. I picked up this sprayer. I don't know what nozzle that is on it. When I close this up, it should pull a lot of the fumes out. I've got a little wasp friend in here. He better get out of here. He's gonna be smelling some fumes here in a minute. Okay, that's my first time using that gun. It gave an excellent finish. Being a puzzle, I am going to make this door on this side swing open, so that would be this door. And on this side, I'm gonna mimic a door, but make it so it doesn't swing open. You're gonna have to slide it up. Huh, I thought I had a spray gun. I guess I don't. Why wouldn't it be in the refrigerator? That little bit of tint just gave me an idea. I'm gonna do that on a project. Drain the tank. I need a windshield wiper. This is good and dry now. We have a few things to finish up here and brought it inside. My wife was nice enough to let me use her phone. I had to sneak in with the saw. She found out I was cutting stuff back here, I'd probably be in trouble. So if you hear me screaming, send help. These, of course, will slide out. Pretty cool. This door opens with nice soft close hinges. Nothing. But if you push it that way and out just a little bit, oh, what is all that? All or entryway organizer. I put one of these in upside down. This way, the next one is that way. And on the right side, you will find one as well. And what is that little black dot? What? A remote? Thanks for watching. It's about 2 in the morning at this point, and I'm more so evaluating my life choices than waiting for the furniture to talk to me. So I found this piece of plywood, and I figured I'd use that for the bottom of the dog kennel. So I'm taking the base, the 3/4 inch plywood, over to the table saw, and you know the old adage, measure twice, and we're taking the titebond 2 and putting that on all those panels that are now flush and the same height. You want to get it as close to the final measurements as possible. It saves you a lot of sanding in the finished sanding process. Started to think the original way that I designed this wasn't going to work. Sure enough, right about here, I realized the original plans that I have are not going to work. Not everything goes smooth in furniture flipping, and it's a good opportunity just to get some work done while you're trying to figure out what you're going to do. Here I get my router out and I round off all those edges. I just think routers are so dangerous. I don't like using them, but in this case I had to. Where this little gap is, line that right up as best we can with this seam so we get a good fill there. And just take your iron and just keep the iron moving. But regardless of what type of base it is, when you're using pocket holes and glue, one of the most important things is to make sure that all of that glue is wiped up. If that glue dries on that wood, no matter what kind of finish you put on there, that glue is going to stand out. And one way you can keep those boards from sliding around besides the clamp is to drop or put a little pinch of salt. What I'm doing here is cutting the stiles and the rails to the correct dimensions. So the stiles are the vertical side of the door and the rails are the horizontal side. So I decided to kind of hollow out the middle of the stiles and slip them over the edge of the rails. And that jig that I have on my table saw, I'm actually clamping the top of that, which keeps that piece nice and straight. And I have the height of the table saw set to the same width as the rails, so it will sit in there nicely. I also have my little square there, make sure everything's nice and square so the joints are tight. There's just the second coat of Dixie Bell paint going on. To all my Marine Corps buddies out there, I must apologize. This paint is called In the Navy. So I was hesitant to use it, but it is a nice color, so I decided to overlook the name and use Dixie Bell's paint here. Putting the handles on and the final touches. So we're finishing off here. Is it me, or is something a little off? I was recently watching a video where Mr. Beast, who has over 100 million YouTube subscribers, gave away a literal island. And I thought, if I'm a furniture flipper, why can't I give away an island? Since this will be in the kitchen, I'm going to go ahead and use titebond 3. Might as well do this now so I can sand these marks out. Somebody got a little sloppy with their paint and just have Dawn just soak all the neat things you find in furniture flipping. Hi, that's kind of cute. 1/8 of an inch. Now I know why they pulled that apart. Door didn't fit. Get some of this stuff painted. And by the way, if you know how many times I tried that to get it to not fall off of the table, you would be really impressed. And we are using Spanish Sand by Bear. If you ever want to look like you mean business, step back, fold your arms and just stare. That dresser now knows that I mean business. I learned a lot on this furniture flip. Right here, I learned which way to push a hand plane. I know they're no bigger than that. I got this new selfie stick where it rotates. You can zoom in, zoom out. Let me show you what it looks like. It's a chair. Hey, Casper, what you doing? So we're gonna do a combination Liberty Copper, hazelnut, and mahogany. I might like this as far as epoxy goes. We'll get a better look when we start pouring some stuff in. I'm not overly concerned about bubbles on this since we will very likely do multiple pours. The challenge with doing it this way, that won't fit through my planer at least, is getting enough on here to make sure you can sand everything flat and not have to sand too much, because you can certainly go overboard in filling it and create yourself a lot of work. But sometimes that's what has to be done. It's worth pouring epoxy just to pop the bubbles. I came across this piece of walnut. It was actually in bad shape on the back side. This was, and I kind of planed it down. It was, had quite a bit of rot in there, but so I could run it through my table saw safely. I love this type of figure in walnut. Well, I've never seen if it would fit. Okay, yeah, we got room. This has been a little over 24 hours. I hit it with the sander here just to make sure. We're gonna go ahead and get started. And I want no parts of breathing this dust. So we're gonna do everything we can to keep the dust out of our lawn. I don't know what makes me think about this. Maybe someone can remind me, but whenever I'm painting big surfaces like this, I always think paint the fence or paint the house. I don't know. I always think, get yourself. Paint the house, paint the fence. Gives a pretty decent sanding surface. I'm glad I stopped when I did, because all these little dark spots, I planned on sanding them off. Even down here, I was planning on coming back and filling these. I think I like it how it is. Like, that just looks really nice. Neat little marks in there. And then I'll take like the 60 grit sandpaper and then go straight, skip several, and maybe go 120. I'm gonna be in trouble because I planned on giving this piece away to one of my subscribers. I can tell you with certainty, if my wife sees this, she is gonna want it. So, I do not know how to keep it a secret. how I'm going to do these little racks. And let's say 55.5. Straight down. I think they would look better if they were. Just going to measure from the inside here to inside. 48, just about right. What I'm doing here is, this is the offset from trim pieces. These will set inside of that. You know your saw's in good shape when that distance next to that line is perfectly straight the entire way.
Because usually somewhere early in the project, I'll just slap a coat of paint on there. Helps me kind of know what the finished project is going to look like. I couldn't even put a percentage number on it, but knowing that 98.7% of statistics are made up on the spot, I would say probably 15% of the projects that I do, if I incorporate woodworking, I end up using another color.
Go up to 240 on this. So I've got this one clamped down tight, and we still have that gap there. And that's because how much these cheaper clamps, like that angles back this way instead of at the top applying pressure in. So we'll get creative with the clamping. If you ever hear people say you can never have enough clamps, it's for situations like this. I don't have to glue that. So typically on tops like this, I wouldn't allow these clamps to bang and clang all over there, but we're kind of want it to be a little roughed up and aged looking. All right, that doesn't look too bad. Just a few spots, little dents and dings and divots that I put in here. Those tend to hold sawdust. I just kept cutting it little by little and have that bow in there. So I'm just gonna hand sand that down a little bit, just the bottom needs it. It should make a really tight seam. Since we're going to give this piece away, we have 269 subscribers to the channel. We're closing in on 10,000 channel views, and I looked. All right, it looks like we have 9,024 views. And that's actually by design. As many of you know, if you've watched my other videos, I like puzzles or just silly things. The one way that I have found to do a giveaway and to stay within the community guidelines of YouTube, and now that we're pushing 10,000 views and 269 subscribers, first I want to say thank you. I'm very happy with that. But for now, let's get back to the furniture flip. Being perfectly level or slim to none. This one came with 2 bubbles. Yeah, that's pretty far off. Maybe I should measure up from the bottom. That might be a better option. Put this side down a little bit. Okay, that gives us a slight downward angle. Okay. I think, now that I give that a little thought, I don't know what kind of wood this is, so I don't know how much it'll expand. So I'm going to take that a little bit more off. Probably wouldn't hurt for me to one day find out what I did with my Craig jig. It's 30 7/16, and this is 8 1/16. Somebody liked funny math. Does anybody know what half of 30 7/16 is? Who really wants to measure that? Would that work? Yep. Okay, and then we'll go down 4. Okay. So 3 13/16. Right there's your answer. 1 29/32. I'll pass. We're just going to use 15/16 because anything else is giving me a headache. Did you ever have so much to do that you stop doing everything and get sidetracked with something crazy? I just spent an hour sanding down my table. I love Odie's oil. And since Odie's oil is food safe, I did the top. Then I'm going to do the sides and some other finish, not sure yet. Gives it the look that we want. So I scribed a line in here with this and get out little by little with the chisel, and hopefully I can get a straighter line. Kind of rabbited. So I'm going to have to do a compound miter cut. And that just has the bevel angle and then the miter angle. So we won't get into those tonight. Okay, that's a pretty good fit there. Much better than that first attempt. And I put a little negative chamfer on that too. I'm just going to take and sand this edge down and not cut it anymore and see if I can get it to slide in there. Sometimes that's the difference between a real noticeable seam. Okay, a little bit more. There we go, not too bad considering what we started with. Okay, we are getting down to the nitty-gritty, and we'll have this one wrapped up here probably this evening. I don't know, I've noticed on walnut, this pre-stain isn't necessarily necessary. I think walnut stains nicely without it, but certainly on some other woods, like any pine, or I forget the name of the wood right now. I did the bench in that, and I won't stain that without putting this Minwax pre-stain on it. Danish oil. On the top I used the Odie's oil. On areas that we know or suspect will be high traffic areas, and I made this as with the intentions of it being a kitchen island, but whoever ends up with this, you know, might need it in the bedroom or whatever. But I always like to make sure on these high traffic areas that there's ample polyurethane. This is Outlaw's board butter, and this is from 731 Woodworking. Matt Outlaw and Mrs. 731 came to a woodcraft store in Nashville, actually in Franklin, and got to meet him. He's a really nice person. Truth be known, his wife was probably nicer than him. Thank you, Miss 731. But they gave that out in a couple other gifts for the people that came out to see him. And Matt does some real motivating videos on going out and living your dream and doing what it is that you feel you have a calling to do. So because of him and a couple of other furniture flippers is why I have a camera going today. On one of these little bumpers. So with it being so cold, that night I put the Odie's oil on it. It didn't give the finish like Odie's oil normally does. So when I brought it in here, it was a little bit blotchy. And I went through and touched up all my old cutting boards, and man, it did a great job. This Outlaws. This board was all beat up and had knife marks in it. And I put on 2 coats of this, and it made it look really nice. So I went over the top of this, and it really evened out all those variations in the finish. And I'm particularly drawn to this because if you don't know, I'm a bit of an outlaw myself. All right, we finally have this thing finished. I think it turned out pretty nice. We got a little bit of epoxy on this walnut top, speckled throughout. There's a little bit right there. Here's where I put that 1-degree chamfer on that wood to get some epoxy on the outside. Hit that subscribe button. Who are you?
Tax collector.
Thanks again.